Hello creative friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're working with the Citrus Twist Kit's July release, Going Places. I am doing a pool layout. My title is going to be By the Water, based off one of the printable cards. This orange stripe paper is also one of the digital 3x4 cards, but I blew it up to 6x8 in Photoshop Elements and printed it off. I'm going to use it as background paper for my photograph. What you see me doing here is I pulled some acetate from my stash. I have some 12x12 large sheets of plain acetate. I think I got it at Michael's. And I cut one to be the same size as that 2x2 page protector on the left. I believe the measurements were 8.5 inches tall and 5 inches wide. I am going to make a insert between my two pages, and it's going to have the words "by the water" that I made into a cut file from one of the digital cards. Now with this side, I printed off one of the papers that has a bunch of 2x2 squares, and I believe it had 12 squares, maybe 16. And I'm only going to use 8 of the 2x2 squares because that's what fits into the 8 pockets. I printed my journaling onto one of the more neutral or plain colored squares. And right now I'm just moving things around to see what I think looks best together and making sure color matches aren't right next to each other and whatnot. So now I'm going to show you how I adhere the title onto the acetate piece. Now what I did is I pulled the card from the digital collection into Silhouette Studio. I blew it up, measured how big I wanted it based on the size of my acetate. And then I also duplicated and mirrored it. And you're going to see why I did that in just a minute. Right now we're just going to work on the front part. And what I want to do is I'm just trying to line up and see about where I want this placed on my acetate sheet. Also knowing that when you look through the clear sheet, you're going to see that pocket page in the background. I am adhering the template, I'm going to call it the template or the negative space area, to the acetate with a large binder clip. Now the reason I do this is because I'm going to use the space in the cut file as a placement place for my letters. And this is how I can get the letters to be in the exact shape and curve that I want as they were designed in the original card. Now, when you do this on paper, you can always use washi tape or any kind of low-tack tape to adhere your template to the piece of paper or item that you're adhering your letters to. I did not want to use washi tape on this because I was afraid the adhesive would leave a mark on the acetate and you would see it when everything was pulled up. So that's why I'm using the binder clip. Now right here you see me kind of pushing down on the letters but pulling up the template. And the reason for that is I want to make sure the glue is not seeping under the letter and then holding the template to the acetate piece. I just want the letter to be sticking. And so that is what I'm doing just to make sure that when I'm all done with this, I haven't accidentally glued the template down too. And I do that after each letter. Right there I'm putting a scrap piece of paper in because some of the glue did seep out under my E, and so I'm just trying to blot it up a little bit. So I just continue to go around the curve, finishing off all my letters. And after we do that, I'm going to show you what I do on the back side of this, because obviously this is a clear see-through element. And the back of these cut out letters are just plain white. And that is where my mirrored image comes in. When I initially thought of this idea, I was thinking maybe I'll just cut some blank piece of paper, not blank piece of paper, but just a solid piece of paper to cover the back to just have something decorative to look at. But then I had the idea of mirroring the cut file, and then it's going to look like you're just seeing the back of the letters when you turn the page. So we'll get to that in just a second. I'm just making sure everything looks glued and is adhered down. And I'm just going to place this back on top to make sure the placement looks good and you're kind of seeing what I want to be seen through the circular center of the title. Now here I'm using the mirrored letters, and they will match up perfectly with the front side. By using glue to adhere these down, it gives me a little bit of time to move it around. If I don't line it up quite right, I can move it around just a little bit to make sure there aren't any big off placement areas. So I continue to do this all the way around. I believe I cut out some of the video. There we go. Because it's the same way. I glued it down the same way as I did the first side. And now I'm just making sure everything's lined up. And I don't know if you can really see in the video, but you'll notice there some little pieces of glue got around on the edge. And right there, you can't quite see. You see my finger with a black covering on it. That actually is my shirt. I have found that the dry wick fabric that you see in a lot of like Nike or Adidas athletic wear is the perfect adhesive remover off anything slick like pictures or acetate. It is my go-to adhesive remover. So that is what I use, and that's what I was doing there. Now it's time to embellish. I am pulling up, or here I have the I'm getting a little tongue-tied today. The Digital Elements sheet, and I am just cutting out a variety of images that I think might look good on my spread. I love these ice cream cones. Obviously the colors match perfect. Sitting by the pool is a perfect ice cream themed project. Right here, I believe that embellishment is just too small for that space, but I continue to cut out and punch out a variety of the different elements, and I use some of them and I put some of them aside for another project. This one with the drink I loved in the center of the sun. Now, any of the 1-inch circles on the element sheet fit perfectly inside that little sun. I definitely want to use the pool day piece because this was a pool day. So I tried to audition that inside the sun. And I think it would have looked great too, but I love how the inside of the drink is yellow and it kind of pulls that yellow out of the sun. I also love this rainbow piece, and I think any of these would have worked well on the page. What I needed to do is just find different shapes that I could layer to have it look right. And what you saw just before, they were all just kind of stacked on top of each other and didn't look quite right. Now, what I did find in my stash was from the travel cardstock stickers from last year, this Fun in the Sun. And that is a perfect sentiment for this page. So I decided I moved away from doing an embellishment cluster in the corner, and I'm moving it to this lower center portion of the page. I love the pool day, but it also needs to be, I thought it needed to be a little bit bigger. And so I punched out a 1.5-inch circle of coordinating blue striped paper from one of the cards, and I used that to make my circle a little larger. Here I found some more chipboard pieces from my stash. I believe this is an older set that may not be in the shop anymore, but the chipboard Happy worked perfect, as well as the Love This. Was kind of deciding which one I wanted to do inside the sun and in the peach colored paper if I wanted to go contrast or tone on tone. Right now I'm going back to my main focal embellishing, trying to get that all situated. I want the word day to line up on the chipboard piece almost like it's a shelf. And so that's why I move it around a little bit, just to make sure it gets lined up the exact way I want. After we get this done, I'm going to start really adhering things down because I have made my final decisions. And I am going to use that foam tape that you see on the side. It's a 2-inch foam tape. I believe I got it from scrapbook.com, and I'm just going to cut 3 pieces of it to go on the back of my picture, and then I'm going to adhere it down to my enlarged journal card. Now, I am not matting this photo like I usually do, in part because I measured the photo at 6.5 by 4.5, so there would be a white border around the picture from the card, or the enlarged card, which is now my paper. And because of that, I didn't need a white border around the picture. The card is doing that work for me. And then also I've got the orange colored stripes, which also work as a secondary mat. So now I'm putting down my little pool day embellishment. I'm going to finish up and putting on my other chipboard pieces on the other side. Now with this drink one, what I try to do first is punch a 1-inch circle out of the foam tape, because that would have worked perfect if it had worked. But my punch did not have a large enough opening to get over the edge of the tape, so that didn't work. So instead I cut 3 white circles from leftover cardstock that I had just sitting around, and I'm going to layer those up, glue them together, and it's going to make a chipboard dimensional piece out of what was a flat punched drink piece. And so now I'm going to have some dimension on that, and I will adhere it down to the sun. And then the last thing I have to do is I'm going to add 1 more heart to the pool day area, and then we're going to be done. If you have any questions or comments how this came together, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.